Hello everyone and welcome to my corner of the wild and welcome to my Sunday live. It's April the 2nd. Who can believe that it's April already? Doesn't seem 5 minutes since we celebrated the beginning of the year on January the 1st. So I'm going to give a few more minutes for folks to log on and join me. If you would like to let me know that you're out there, you can just write something in the chat box in the right hand side of the screen there, and this will enable you to be able to join in the design process. So as with all my lives, I kind of pull together some ideas, but I don't actually create anything until you join me. And then I got some options, and you can vote on what you'd like for me to do. So today I decided that there was one of the specialty papers that are in the mini catalogue that we have not explored together, and that is called the Dry Brushed Metallics. And you get two 12 by 12 sheets. These are just some little scraps that I have here. Well, not little scraps, they're 6-inch squares. And you can see that they got lots of gold in them. And I'm trying desperately not to blind you with the light on the gold there. And there's two sheets with like the sort of orangey look, which I believe is Cajun Craze and Petal Pink. And then this one is more of a bluey green one, which is a soft succulent. Now these will be retiring at the end of April, and so if these are papers that you would love to have, then you need to get to my online store and get those ordered. If you joined in my paper share back in January, you will have got some of this paper as part of your share. The other thing I'm going to look at is this bundle, which is in Stampin' Up's online exclusives, so they won't appear in any catalogues. And we've got, it's called, as you can see, Tropical Leaf, and we've got a punch and a coordinating stamp set, or is it a stamp set with a coordinating punch? I'm not quite sure. But the punch lines up with this bigger leaf, and I seem to remember years ago, and I don't know if it's the right name or what, but we used to call this like a Swiss cheese plant because it was full of holes. So if I call it that, you'll know what I'm talking about. Because my colours have already been decided by my papers, I've also pulled out some soft succulent ink and Calypso Coral. I wanted sort of a paler rather than Cajun Craze. And I also pulled out Soft Suede. Now, I'm using these two colours as like a fond farewell, because both of these will be retiring at the end of April. We've got some lovely new colours coming along, which I'm looking forward to getting my hands on. But I'm just kind of making a fond farewell, I think, to these two colours as well. And I also grabbed a bunch of ribbons, and so when we come to do our final flourishes, we've got some ribbons. These are the online exclusives. I shared these with you last week when we did a card. These two will be retiring, but they're still good. And then this one was in the Christmas catalogue, and I believe it's actually transferring to the new annual catalogue. I think I saw it. It's a bit difficult to, I have access as a demonstrator to see it, the catalogue online, and sometimes it's just a wincy bit difficult to see the details, but I have a feeling that this is it. Okay, now I have not used this punch before, and when I receive a new punch, I always punch a couple of times on some scratch paper, and that's because sometimes you find that there's a little bit of machine oil that is left on the punch, and I don't want it to transfer to my card. So I just stamp a few times, punch a few times, and then that will remove any machine oil that is on there. Okay, well that's a nice punch. As I say, I hadn't used it before, but I like that. But then I'm a softie, I'm a real sucker for punches anyway, so that's one thing. Okay. Right, so let's make a start and see what we can come up with today. The first thing I thought of is that this one would look better on a vanilla card base, and the bluey greeny one I think would suit a white card base. So that is what I've started with, and I'm going to make, I think it's called a gatefold card. So this is 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it at 2 1/8 from each side, and that way it will give us a card that will have our join in the middle. So it's that easy. It's not a very difficult fold at all, but it is a fun one. I like this one. It is just a little bit unusual. All right. So since I've started, so that's my white one. Pop that there with there. And then this is my vanilla. Like that. Right, I think I'm going to lay down some layers. So I've got 5.5 is the length of my card. So I am going to cut this piece here 5 3/8, like that. And then I'm going to cut these two panels at 2 each, and that will give me a really fine border. Right. Let's see what that gives me. I'll just get some glasses, I can see what I'm doing then. Can you see that gives me a really fine border there. Now I'm gonna cut this so I get sort of the maximum of shiny gold, because if you watch me regularly, you know I do love my bling. Now this has to be 1 7/8. So there is 1 7/8 wide. but I want to cut them together. So 1 7/8 plus 1 7/8. So that's going to be 4 inches minus 2/8, which is a quarter. So that's 3 3/4. So there. Now, if I then cut this 1/8 of an inch, so this is 5, so that needs to be 5 1/4. And then if I cut this in half, that way. Now I wanted to do it that way because it means then that I know that these two pieces here are exactly the right length. I've got a little bit of a though they're exactly the same length, I should say. I've got a little bit of fuzz going on there. Probably need to sharpen up my blade. But we're just going to gently trim off the little. It's like, you know, when you get a sweater and you get those little fuzz balls on there. Right, let's see what we've got this side. Again, just a little bit of fuzz. So this tells me I need to put a new blade in my trimmer. There. So do some liquid. So where are you all joining me from today? So if you are joining me for the first time, I am based in North Texas. Although you can probably hear that I'm not originally from this part of the world. Originally I'm from the UK. But my husband and I have lived here for nearly 20 years. So, right. Well, there's my 2 layers there. So now I've to decide whether or not I'm going to attach them directly to the card base with some adhesive, or whether to pop them up on Stampin' Dimensionals. And I think I am going to, I think I'm just going to lay them flat at this time. I'm going to make another one in a minute using the other colours so that you can see how they do pop and how different they look by being on different colour base and layering panels. Okay. Now then, let's see. I didn't intentionally cut this, but I think if I lay that way, I think that cut will match up. Let's see. Yay! Well, that was smart. It wasn't planned, but it was worked out quite well there. Okay. All right, so my next thought was to do this, to make a front panel. And with my stamp set. So we've got love you lots, hello, thanks so much, and then hugs and kisses just there. So I wonder if I see how many bigs have I got here. This was a scrap that I had in my drawer. So this is 2 3/4. So the diagonal though is just under 4. So if I did, I mean, I've basically, I've got 4 1/4, I've got 4 1/8 inch to play with, have I? 4 1/4 inches. So I wonder if so this I said was 2 3/4. So 2 3/4. So if I make this a 1/8 bigger, that's going to be 2 7/8, and that gives me a nice fine border. And let's just make sure that that doesn't go outside the footprint of my card. It doesn't. And it, if I put it there, it gives us lots of that lovely gold showing through. All right, how am I doing so far? Anybody got any comments about what's happening? Right. I'm going to use the hello stamp because I feel that I could use hello for practically any occasion. So if I need to drop somebody a quick line, hello would be the perfect thing to have on the front of your card. Right. I'm going to use soft suede. I'm going to just pop it there. Then, if I have my card like that, it's kind of like that, which I quite like that. Right. Now we need let's see, I need a scrap of paper. I'm going to need this big leaf. Put that on a block. So when I'm using these photopolymer stamps, I always lay the stamp down on a flat surface and then I put my block on top. And that way I pick it up in exactly the shape that it's supposed to be. So I know I've shared this tip with you before, but when I have a new stamp with a coordinating punch, I always look at it. Well, where's the paper going to go in? So the paper's going to go in there. And so that's the way my stamp needs to go. And when I stamp, I need to stamp it toward the bottom of my piece of paper. And that way, when I pop it into the punch, it's going to be exactly the right place without me having to sort of twist and turn and trim bits off of my of my card. I'm going to put my pad underneath here because it's quite a big stamp, and I want to make sure that there's some bit of padding underneath to make sure that the ink transfers, and this just gives us a little bit of extra. On the rubber stamps, they've got like their own piece of cushioning, and you don't have to worry about them using the mat. So as I say, I'm just going to gently slide that in. No, just a minute, I've just had a thought. We've got some stamps in here that put the veins on. We're going to use those. And it's probably easier to put the veins on while the piece is still in the main card. So just lay that down. This one has got lots of little bits. It's easy for it to sort of get a bit distorted. So just laying it down like that can help. Right. So I'm using the soft suede ink to put my leaves, my veins on, and I can just beautifully line them up, she says optimistically. There. I think that's given my thing a little bit of life. Right. Now, okay. Now the stamp set has 2 leaves. It's got a small one, but only the punch will only punch out the larger one. So I'm wondering whether or not to directly stamp. Oh, sorry about all this crackling and creaking. I'm wondering whether or not, if that's going to go like this, and I can put, if I put a leaf like that and one like that, maybe like that needs to go actually on, and this can always sort of go off over like that. All right, what does anybody think? Right, okay. Just going to check this because it's the first time I've used it, so I just want to make sure that we're getting a good print. So if I'm going to have that like that, and this has got some little veins as well. Managed to get a hair there. So we'll just go and get little practice. Okay, that works. there. And then this can go maybe popped up like that. Right, I'm liking that, but I also want to put something inside my card. And my envelope. Because you know I like to do decorated envelopes. So there, that's that. And we go ahead and use the, I don't, using it upside down doesn't work for me. Okay, and I'm going to do this. I'll pop all my inks away now because it's getting dangerous having them all open. Right. So I just use a bit of liquid. Move some of this out the way because I can't see for the stuff. Right, so we've got some dimensionals. Now we're gonna have to just attach it to one side of the card. So I'm going to, now it moved. Well, that wasn't very handy. Right, so I'm going to put one behind there because that's going to be my piece over here. And then I'm going to put one here next to the fold, or next to the join. And by doing it on there, I know that when I attach this, that it'll hold the panel in place, but it's not going to show when we open the card. So I'm lining up my points on that center gap. Hey Johnny, thank you for joining me today. Did you get the recipe okay? And did you find the links to the videos for those cards? Hopefully you did. Right. Okay. So where shall we go with our ribbon? We're not going with silver because silver, obviously we've got the gold on there. So do we need some ribbon? Should we put some, oh, we don't need the green one, so we can take that out of the mix. So where should we go? Should we go with a nice fine one? The one that's kind of got some nice sort of gauze in the middle, or shall we go with this? So I could, this might be a bit heavy. Yeah, I'm not so fond of that. How about anybody else? No, that's too, it's the pink, the colour is wrong. It's not working for me. It's not singing in harmony. So we can go with a small piece like this or a larger piece. So let's just tie a little knot. So we can go with that or with this. Okay, so the thin one or the wider ribbon. Give you a chance to come back with some ideas. I managed to drop my stamps on the floor. Not very clever. Right, well, we'll do that as a final flourish. Let's have a look at doing this with the bluey green version, because I think you'll agree that it just is going to give us a completely different view. Now normally I would use my Stampin' Scrub, but I've got so much stuff on my workbench here that there's not room for it. So I'm just going to use this and then I'll clean them properly when we finish today. Right, so let me remember what I did. And we'll be able to whiz through this because we've already done the thinking. Okay, so I've got my white card base and I've got a couple of pieces that are soft succulent, so these are retiring, so those are our two pieces there. And so when we cut this, what did I say I needed to cut it? I've forgotten. Right, I can see why I'm having a bit of a problem with the with my cutting blade. Can you see all that little fluff? That's come off of paper that I have cut, and it's just accumulated in the cutting groove. So maybe we'll see in a second how good that how effective that was. Right, I don't need this colour anymore. Now I said this was 5 3/8, so this needs to be 5 1/4. So 5 1/4, and then this is going to be 3 3/4. No, I've already cut that bit, so this needs to be 1 7/8. There we go. So I've got some nice scraps left to do something with at some point. So we'll get these loaded onto. Well, my cut is a bit better. Still got a little fuzz. So I think I'm going to have to cough up and put a new blade in. But the blades last for such a long time. So I'm not too worried about that. Now then, something's just... Did I not cut these at the right length? Or is this not at the right length? Oh, everything looks good. Just looked a little bit out of, what am I trying to say? A proportion. But maybe it's just like the trick of the light. Okay, I'm just double checking the measurement there. So I will just do exactly the same as I did for the first one. And I'm just going to lay it, stick it down with good old liquid adhesive, both sides. Oh, I wonder if I was smart enough to get them the right way round again. Oh, I think I might be. So I've actually managed to, again, purely by accident, because I wasn't noticing particularly, I've managed to stick the pieces down so that the cut edge is actually in the middle. There we go, there's that bit coming down, and here it is over the other side. Right, so that's the easy bit there. And now let's see, this, what did I cut that other piece at? I should have made notes, but I didn't. Oh, 2 3/4. So if I do 2 3/4, I do 2 3/4, that doesn't sound right. I think it was like 2 7/8. I think that's what it was. This wasn't far off. And then I need a piece of white, and I've got another scrap here. And is that the right size? Yes. So that is 2 3/4. I think I'm done with that now. So we're now going to do some stamping, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Since we've already gone through the thought process, we're going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to put my hello down here, and then I'm going to attach, stamp rather, my little leaf. Let's just make sure we're getting, ooh, I re-inked this earlier today, and it looks like it's given me a nice juicy stamp to work with. There we go. And while I've got that out, have I got a scrap of white? Yeah, I've got a scrap of white. And I think well, I did that wrong. I put it in the wrong one. And that's why I say to my ladies who come to class, just have one stamp pad open at a time, because you're bound to stick it in the wrong one. And there, I did it myself. I put it in the brown instead of the green. But at least I realised before I stamped it on anything. And let's just do an envelope. So we've got the small one again. And we're going to go inside the card with this, just as we did with the other one. I think I've finished with that. And now we can go, now I'm not quite sure if this soft suede is going to show quite as well as it did. Well, it's a bit more subtle there. here's my big one. Right, oh, I'm going to pop this ink pad away because I think I finished stamping. And we're just going to punch and finish our assembly. And we've still to decide on the ribbons. So if anybody's got any thoughts on what ribbons, which of those ribbons they'd like to vote for, we can take it from there. Okay, so we're nearly there. Clear the decks. Can't see for all the stuff I've got on the right. So again, we're going to, I'm going to pop it at the angle, so it's exactly the same as the other card. It's just using the different papers and pulling out the colours. So has anybody got a preference? Do you prefer the greeny one or the one with the orangey tones? If you're watching this on the replay, perhaps you just make a comment below and let me know what you think, which your preference is. There. And a couple on the back of my nifty little leaf. I think we're done with those now. Let's see. Right. I think I'm going to use this ribbon, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little knot rather than a bow. I think the knot works. Right, I'm going to pop that on a little glue dot. I think it just hides that sort of raw edge. And just the last little knot here. Okay, well, I do hope that you have enjoyed working this card with me, or these cards. These papers are so pretty. Now I did get some rhinestones and some pearls out, but to be honest with you, I think with the ribbon and the gilding in the already that in the paper, I think I have I've got enough bling. So there we are. We have looked at the dry brushed specialty paper. We've used the Tropical Leaf stamp set along with the coordinating punch. And if you let me know which colour combination that you like, because we've kind of got cool colours and warm colours. So which is your favourite? I'm not gonna say which I prefer, because I like them both actually. Okay. Well, unless you've got any questions, which you can always pop in the chat box for me. If you're watching this on the replay, you can put any questions that you, or comments, beneath the video. I'd certainly love to read anything that you have to say. If you've enjoyed the live, then perhaps you'll go ahead, gives me a thumbs up. And if you don't yet currently subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it if you would. And then you'll be able to join me on future lives. And I also have nearly 400 videos on my channel with lots of tips and techniques. Now, I won't be back next Sunday because it's Easter Sunday, but I will be back the week after. And so I will look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye for now.